how do you feel about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.?
I feel that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is a very inspiring man and made very brave and smart choices.
And what are some of the brave and smart choices you think he made, Caroline?
He made a speech to help end segregation.
Okay. And what is segregation?
Segregation is all this racism in the world and meanness and rudeness.
Okay. And how do you feel about his I Have a Dream speech?
I feel proud that he made it.
Hey guys, we've been studying about Martin Luther King Jr. and the events that were going on in 1963. And how do you feel about Martin Luther King Jr. and what we've been studying? Julian?
I feel good and I like what we're studying and I think he had a great speech.
Who?
Martin Luther King Jr.
Okay. Dominique, how do you feel about his speech?
Encouraging and
Encouraging. Do you think Martin Luther King Jr. encouraged us with that speech, Garden?
Yes, he did.
How?
How?
Yeah.
He was the only one who wanted to stand up for equality in America.
Oh, nice. Julian, would you say racism is something that happens today in America?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. And Dominique, do you feel like we should honor Martin Luther King Jr. with his own special holiday, which is Monday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day?
Yes.
Why?
Because he was the only one that wanted other cultures to be equal and black men to be equal with white men and join hands with each other.
Gillian, did you enjoy the lesson on Martin Luther King Jr. and his life?
Yes, I did.
What was your favorite part of our unit that we've been covering?
That he gave the speech and we got to learn about the speech and
Okay.
we read some of the speech.
So how do you describe the I Have a Dream speech?
He wants everyone to be treated equal.
He does. And do you agree with him?
Yes.
So if you could pick one word to describe the I Have a Dream speech, how would you describe that speech when you heard the recording and when you read it?
Probably the first.
Gannon, help her out. How would you describe when you heard that speech and when you read it? How did you feel?
Probably emotional.
Really? Why?
Because it's kind of sad in a way that those black people would have to be treated that way.
Okay. Gillian, how did you feel?
I felt pretty good because he's standing up and telling everyone that they need to join hands and everyone needs to be together and not to be separated.
Okay. And Brock, you felt pretty powerful throughout the unit about Martin Luther King Jr. So how would you describe Martin Luther King Jr.? What kind of man was he?
He was a good man that tried to end racism. He didn't end it, but he helped it tremendously. And he did a lot to help other black and whites and that they can be friends.
Awesome. Braden, and what is something that stuck out during the unit that you learned about or how you felt that you'd like to share?
I felt happy throughout the unit because I don't think anybody would really want to stand up for something so big. Like black people, they couldn't do a lot of things like white people. And Martin Luther King Jr. stood up for that, and it was amazing how he could do that.
Amazing. That is correct. That is amazing.
So this week we've been talking about how Martin Luther King Jr.'s life went and how he tried to stop racism.
Okay. Paul, how do you feel about racism?
I feel that eventually it will stop and we'll live in harmony with God.
Oh, wow. Nice thought. All right, Tessa, how do you feel about Martin Luther King Jr.'s life and what he did for racism?
I feel that he thought that he needed to do something, so he did, and he stood up for America and he tried to do his best.
Wow. If you could describe Martin Luther King Jr., how would you describe him?
I would describe him as a strong man that stood up for America and let white people and black people join hands.
Okay, Gabby, tell us something that you learned throughout this unit that you enjoyed.
That Martin Luther King had the courage to actually say the speech, even though he knew that he was risking his life standing up for what he believed in.
Okay. And how do you feel about Martin Luther King Jr.'s life?
I feel like it was kind of not fair, and people should have been better and nicer to him.
Okay. And did you enjoy the speech?
Yeah.
How would you describe the speech or the way you felt about the speech when you heard it and when we read it together?
It was inspiring that he took the time to write it just to free African Americans from segregation.
And what?
From segregation.
Okay. And if you could describe Martin Luther King Jr. and what kind of man he was, what would you say, Kennedy?
He was a brave and a creative man to do all of this.
Hey there. Did you enjoy the unit on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.?
Yes.
Okay. Do you feel he is an important person to study in history?
Yes,
Okay. Why?
because he is an inspiring person and he tried to bring equality to the world so laws would be fair.
Okay. And Zachary, how do you feel about racism and how things were back in 1963?
I feel very bad and I'm very happy that they changed and it was very unfair back then.
Okay. And what do you think Martin Luther King Jr. did for us and our country?
He helped bring equality to the country.
And what does equality mean to you?
Everyone is equal or anything is equal.
And go ahead.
All races are equal and no race is better than the other. They're people, so the same.